So right now I'm on Sellers Island in the Blue Hill Bay. I just got done packing up all my gear for my overnight camping trip on the island. And I wanted to go over a couple kayaking safety items, sea kayaking safety items. So solo sea kayaking in itself is dangerous. Solo sea kayaking in the wintertime in Maine is incredibly dangerous. I love sea kayaking. I love kayaking in the winter. And I'm sure there's lots of people who say you just shouldn't do that. And they might be right. But in every sport, you have a couple crazy ones who like to go solo, okay? Every sport, rock climbing, sailing, backcountry camping, you know. I don't want anyone who's following me to think that, oh, it's easy, you can just go out there and do an overnight camping trip in the winter in Maine because he's doing it. No, there's a lot of planning that goes into this. There's a lot of equipment that I use, and there's a lot of experience behind it. So let me get started with what I keep on my person. So I keep a marine VHF radio. This has distress calling on channel 16. So if I was in distress, I could call on channel 16. It would have about a mile range, maybe 3 miles on a great day, high power. The radio also has a weather channels, full weather channels for marine weather. So I can listen to the weather anytime I need to if I don't have service. So this is a great tool. Everyone should have this. Additionally, like it's foggy out right now, right? No matter what the season is, if you're crossing a huge channel in a sea kayak, or even if it's not foggy, and you see a bigger ship coming down on you, you know, or a power boat or something like that, if they're listening to channel 16, which they should be, you can always give them a call and say, hey, I'm a sea kayaker right in front of you. Do you see me, you know? So that's great. A PLB, this is a personal locator beacon. So how the PLB works, basically take it out, follow the instructions. You can send off an SOS to the Coast Guard. It will go directly to the rescue coordination center of your area. And it will give your location and the time. So, and it also, if you register it with NOAA, you can register what type of boat you have. So I have, you know, blue sea kayak in there. So this is a must-have for sure. Red bag, a whistle. I probably should keep it on my person, but first aid kit, an emergency thermal blanket, matches, a throw line, also electric flashlight and headlamp. I put that in the day hatch. Day hatch is a quick grab hatch. It's right behind you in the cockpit. You can grab it anytime you need. Spare clothing. So wintertime especially, I'm wearing a full dry suit right now. So that's another piece of equipment. Wear a dry suit. You don't want to go out in the winter without a dry suit. But spare clothing, if I were to get wet, I'd always have a couple pairs of extra shirts, socks, a pair of pants, a jacket, and a towel in there. New hat as well that I can put on and get nice and warm. I'm going to throw that up in the forward hatch. Food and water. So you want to bring way more food and water than you need for that trip. If you're going out for a day, bring enough food and water for 2 days. I went out for a 2-day overnight trip. I brought an extra meal for every meal I ate. So water too, bring plenty of water for cooking and for drinking. Should have a good appreciation of what the weather conditions are going to be. But if you do get stuck on an island in some type of a storm and it's unsafe to go back, you want to have that food and water to cover you for the length of time that you need to stay on the island. Keep it as close to the cockpit as possible for stability, because it is pretty heavy. So I guess I call it the day bladder right in front of me, up top. This is great. It just came out of a camo backpack, but this nozzle here, I can just take it out, start drinking while I'm still kayaking, still keeping my bow in the wind or waves or whatever. I don't have to reach and take my spray skirt off or try to open up a water bottle or anything like that. Just ready to go. Throw the tent, food back here as well. You want to try to pack most of the weight in the back of the kayak. sleeping bag will have to go back here just because it's so huge. Little snacks, a rain hat, extra pair of gloves. All just type of stuff that you want to keep ready for access in the day hatch. So I put it right behind me here. Okay, so now for equipment that's on the boat itself. I use a paddle tether. These can get really annoying, but they are pretty critical for solo sea kayaking safety. I keep this clipped in right here. Everyone should carry a spare paddle. You can call it the storm paddle. So if you do happen to lose your paddle, you always have a spare right on the front. You can just take it out, clip it together real quick, and you're good to go again. On the stern here, I've got a pump. Now, you should know how to roll your kayak and right yourself. But that doesn't always work out. You flip over and some type of a surf, or you aren't ready for it. Let's say your spray skirt comes off. You're gonna have to self-rescue yourself, which means flipping the kayak back over in the water while you're swimming and kind of hauling yourself over the stern of the kayak into the cockpit. And at that point, the cockpit is going to be full of water, right? So your stability is not going to be that great. If you're in any type of swell or any type of sea, you're going to risk just falling right back over again. Stick this pump right down in your cockpit or any spaces that are affected. Go ahead and pump it out. Front sea turtle bungee compass mounted. If you're looking at it constantly, you know, and you do hit some fog, you remember the course that you're steering for that island, you know. Use it while you're steering for an island to constantly get bearings on that island, and you can see if you're, you know, how bad you're setting, if you're getting affected by wind and tide. Finally, I'll just talk about the boat itself. So it does have a rudder. But no matter what, if you're using a rudder or a skeg, you want to inspect your cables and lines before you go out. Because if these things snap, that could leave you in real trouble. If your rudder gets pulled all the way over to one side or whatever. So inspect your cables, inspect the rudder or skeg itself. Make sure your foot pedals are clear of junk. I have a Kokatat dry suit. It's front zip, so it's easy for myself. You know, I don't need any help getting in and out of it. If you're kayaking in salt water, every time you use it, you want to rinse it off with fresh water and let it dry. Pair the latex gaskets. You can rub I have Protectant 303 wipes that I rub on them. And take care of the zippers. Use zipper wax, make sure they're nice and lubricated. Doing overnight trips like I just did, and you have to leave your dry suit out with salt water on it. The most important thing is you don't want to let that salt water crystallize, because that can destroy the seal in some areas. So don't let it dry. If you have extra fresh water, give it a rinse. Throw it in a dry bag all rolled up, nice and tight, and let it just be moist all night, you know, dry inside, but that salt water won't have dried up and crystallized on the suit.
Route planning is an essential part of sea kayaking safety. Google Earth is a great resource for planning your routes and studying the area beforehand, but always be sure to include contingency plans and safe havens in any route. Monitor the weather days in advance before a trip and while you're at sea. Windy is a great tool for this, but use multiple models in your weather forecasting and weather planning. The OPC, or Ocean Prediction Center, puts out larger scale maps that show you the bigger picture. These are useful if you want to do a little forecasting on your own or compare it with other maps to see what's going on around you.
Don't just watch my video. I am by no means an expert in training or a guide. This is just what I do for my trips. So this is just to kind of give you an idea of how much work goes into them and the type of equipment, safety equipment that I use each trip.
I hope this thing was on the whole time.